Hello everyone, I'm going to quickly go over how to make good clothes for your clothing brand. Now, before we begin, a lot of people make terrible clothes. Your product is bad, that's why you're not selling. And if you're a clothing brand founder and you've been trying to sell clothes, the reason why it's not been working is because the shit you're selling, no one cares about. You are generic, you are no different than any other big brand, and that's the reason why you can't stand out. Now, the main issue is that everyone always tells you how to stand out, but with your clothing and with your product, they never explain the psychology behind it. I'm gonna do that real quickly. So I'm gonna go over in this video how to actually make good clothes for your clothing brand and stop making just garbage and wondering why it doesn't sell. Because on TikTok I've been getting numerous messages where people have been saying, "Oh, by the way, can you look at our brand? We're not getting any sales." Some of the time it's not even about the content, it's not about the Instagram, it's not about the TikTok. The main issue you're having is that your clothes are just genuinely terrible. Your product is genuinely terrible and no one's gonna buy it. Now, I understand to some people it may seem like, damn, I spent £2,000 or $2,000. I need to ask you this: what's more important to you? Is it the price or the cost? Because I promise you, $2,000 or pounds is nothing compared to what you're going to lose in this business. Be prepared to lose multiple six figures if you're prepared to make multiple seven figures. All right, and that's exactly what we do with our clients. We get them to multiple six figures, but more on that later. So let's cover how to actually do or make good clothes for your clothing brand, so you can stop getting a lot of returns for your clothing brand and people not buying your clothes. Because from my understanding and talking to a lot of founders, a lot of people tend to get returns or no one's buying their product, or even when they do a drop, it goes terribly. So let's actually start with clothing. Let's actually take a step back. So first, what is clothing and what isn't clothing? Well, clothing is not just a t-shirt, not just a hoodie, not just sweaters, or not just a tracksuit. A lot of people tend to be typically what we call linear minded. And what by that I mean, and because I study clinical psychology, so I've really looked into people's brains and why the way they think and why they process things a certain way. And what I've discovered is that people tend to think very secularly and very linearly, right? And what that means is they think in just one direction. You've seen a plethora, you've seen a incredible amount of successful clothing brands, and what they've done is that they've gone viral with their tracksuits, with their sweaters, with their long sleeves, with their short sleeves. And what you've done is that, yeah, I'm gonna make a clothing brand, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna do the exact same thing as them, but just with different colors and a different logo. That isn't making clothes. You're not making clothes. Clothing is not just a t-shirt. Like, I'm wearing a t-shirt now. This does not mean clothing is just a t-shirt. If I start a brand with a t-shirt, I mean, fucking hell, there's so many people that have made a t-shirt. Why are you any different? And I need you to understand that we're not in 2020 anymore. Actually, I was gonna say 2026, but we're not in 2020 anymore. We're not in 2018 anymore. We're not in 2023 anymore, where you could just make the same thing your competitor is making, but with different logos. Like, you actually need to think here, like, critically. And what I mean by that is, let's look at what clothing actually is. So clothing is anything and everything that clothes your customer. So if I can wear it, if I can like equip it, no game for, like, jokes intended, but if I can wear it like on my body, or any part of my body, that's clothing, right? That can go from caps to shoes to sliders to flip, like shoes to sliders to jackets to wristbands, jewelry, anything at all. Anything that I can wear, that is clothing. Not just a t-shirt, not just a tracksuit. That's not a clothing brand. Like, clothing brand isn't just about t-shirts, okay? Anything and everything that I can wear on my body, that is clothing. So when you take yourself out of this mindset, you see this. Now, I want you to look at this picture, right? And think critically, because if you're a founder and you actually can't sit down and be able to think, you're cooked anyway, so just stop your business. But look at this image, and just for a second, think to yourself, what do you find common? Like, what's the commonality here? Like, what's so common between all these different pictures? You probably said, obviously thinking right now, I'm not going to say what it is yet, but you're probably thinking right now, oh, it's cool. Oh, it's a lot swaggy. Oh, this is high quality. This is premium. You're missing the point. Where's the tracksuits? Where's the t-shirts? Where's the short sleeves and long sleeves? Where's all the viral, tracksuit set or the viral windbreaker? You don't see that shit here. You are looking at your screen right now. You're looking at all the little supplementary, complementary things that make a brand a brand. It's the saying that little stones make a mountain. That's why a mountain is so strong. You need to understand that if you look at this, for example, this cap, this cap here, I've never seen this. This actually looks really cool. They have this little badge here. I will buy from a brand that has a lot of supplementary things and has a whole plethora of so many different things you can buy and so many different things, especially in this day and age, as opposed to a brand that's just making the same thing another brand I like is wearing, but with just a different logo. Everyone can make a t-shirt, man. It's not hard to find a manufacturer. Okay, so we need to really look at clothes that you're gonna make well. Now, I want to make this clear that this doesn't apply to everyone. If you're just starting out, honestly, like this is going to be very difficult for you if you do not have the funds, if you're not willing to get a job to really work and save up money. But if you're watching this video, you're already a brand. You've already made money with the brand. You've got a little bit of money to actually spend. Now I'm coming here on this video. The reason why I appeared on your YouTube recommended is because I'm trying to save you fucking money. Do not make another tracksuit that no one's going to wear. Okay? So I'm gonna cover the importance of making complementary things and why psychologically it actually compounds. The reason why is because you look at this right now, but you know the interesting thing about what you're seeing right now? All these pictures, this is still a clothing brand. This isn't a jewelry brand just because it's still a clothing brand, right? And just way different from the regular product. You see, in business, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's clothes, it doesn't matter if it's a digital product. Your product has to offer value to a customer. In order for me to buy something like this water bottle needs to provide me value. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna exchange my money for the bottle. Why? Because money isn't just money. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, we all want money. But money is simply just an exchange of value. When you are transacting, or if a customer buys something off your store, they're simply just using money in order to get that thing. It's not that, they just gave you money. No, they're trading money. It's the same thing back then when money wasn't a thing. We just had to trade. I'd have to trade my lambs for your cows. I'd have to trade my bricks for your horses, for example. It's just an exchange of value. And if your product doesn't offer value to a customer, it's a terrible product. I don't care if you spend £2,000 making it. It's a shit product. Okay? The reason why it's terrible is because now you're in a market where everyone is doing the same thing and you're not thinking critically or strategically to say, rather than me making a next tracksuit, why don't I make pants that go with what everyone's making? If your competitor is making white tops, you would be stupid to make another white top when he's already dominating the market. Why not make sweatpants, grey sweatpants, that are complementary to the white top so they can buy from their brand and buy from your brand? And what the customer is doing is that they're making a psychological association and valuing your brand way higher than it needs to be. The reason why I'm talking about making a product, because most of my content is always about your content and positioning, it's always about your target audience, and it's always about the ads and everything, like all the boring stuff. But the reason why I'm making a video on this product is because I've been getting way too many DMs on TikTok, people asking me, yo bro, I've been sending out my products to influencers, why is it not doing well? It's not doing well because your product is shit. Your product is a replica of someone else. Think about it this way. Your product, right, is damn near the exact replica of Supreme and Babe, just watered down. When you really think about it like that, you're like, damn, like maybe my product is just a copycat of another person's brand. It is. It is, because you haven't sat down and really thought about how can I make a product that offers value to the customer and that no one else is making. I'm gonna give you the source, don't worry. Like I said, one easy way to do this is to make pieces of clothing that gives them way more authority and distinction. What I mean by this is, I need you to start thinking from your customer's perspective. If your customer was going to sell your brand on your behalf to their friends, what are they gonna say? I mean, yeah, it's nice to see, yeah, bro, I got this nice tracksuit, it's quite clean, I got it from this, but everyone has seen a tracksuit. If for example, I wear a nice white shirt and I'm going to a business meeting and you guys are selling belts, for example, it's just one of the many things you sell. You sell belts and, I wear the belt and it really goes well with my fit. People don't give a fuck about the fucking shirt, the suit, the tie, the bottoms. And I'm going to show you a psychological bias that proves this. People don't care about the shirt. They care about the little detail that made everything go together. If I see you wearing a nice shirt with nice pants, with nice shoes, but the belt just looks really good, I don't care about the fit. I'm going to be like, damn, okay, you look good, but that belt looks really, really good. But it's very important to understand why humans do that. Why do we care about the little shit? Like for example, you could post a video that's taking you 3 hours to make, but you will care because you will care about one person's comment. For example, you could get 5,000 comments of people glazing you, but one comment is enough to just ruin your day. Why? Right? I'm gonna get into it. Don't worry, I'm gonna give you the source. One thing I need you to understand is a tracksuit is fucking boring. Make something else. Genuinely, make something else. I need you to if you want to start a clothing brand in 2026, forget making a tracksuit. Unless you can revolutionize how a tracksuit is made, which we can cover in a minute, forget about making a tracksuit. If you was thinking of making another version of Saint Alexandro, that's a blank kind of tracksuit brand, or like an oversized t-shirt for essentials, I'm telling you right now, unless your product has incredible messaging and you have the advertising and the budget and the campaigns and the content to do, bro, I promise you're gonna waste a lot of money. So there's two ways you can really go about this. Either you can make a product that will sell itself, or a product that you have to sell because it's shit. And I find, even with the clients that we work with, I find that it's much easier to sell a product that already sells itself, because the only thing you need to do now is just back it with just content. It's very easy to make a shit product and then do all the marketing, but it's very hard and takes time to make a good product. And it doesn't actually have to take time, by the way. With the method I'm going to show you, you can make a good product in 10 seconds. I'm dead ass. But the point I'm trying to make here, it's very easy to make a bad product and then just post on Instagram and then sit back and say, oh yeah, bro, TikTok algorithm hates me. You're coping, right? You've made a shit product and you're blaming the algorithm for it. No, you're the one that's actually made the bad product. You haven't made anything of value to a person. For example, if this video did not have enough value, you would not be watching it right now. So clearly something I'm saying is resonating with you and actually working for you. It actually makes sense to you, right? That's why you're still watching. Otherwise, why haven't you clicked off, right? I'm offering value to you, okay? So enough about the yapping. So let's go over the psychology, because as a clothing brand founder, what you're doing is that, like I said, you're exchanging value. You're trading something for someone else, for something else, right? In order to get sales, what you want, you're giving a customer what they want, which is a transformation through your clothes. Now let's go over something called a visual interruption bias, right? We're going to do a small exercise, because this is how we do it on this channel. I don't just give you value and let you think about it in your bed and smoke weed and die. We actually do exercises. So I'm going to show you this image, as you can see on the screen. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to slightly tweak it every time to make it look different. So I'm going to give you 1 second. I'm going to drink some water. Yeah. And I want you to look at this image. Just familiarize yourself with this image. Don't think too much of it. Familiarize yourself with this image. Take a mental note of what you see. Go ahead. Cool. Now I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to show you the exact same image, but something different. Just tell me if you notice anything. Cool. So you've looked at the image, you've probably noticed that this image has a belt, right? So this one didn't have a belt, but this one did have a belt. And you can see it's the same fit, but for some reason, it's just different, right? It's a lot more different. Yeah, the shirt is cropped, but the belt just stands out. Terrible belt, by the way. But it's the same shit, just the belt that makes a difference. And if you look at this right now, if you kind of zoom out, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, it kind of makes a big difference, but not that much of a difference, right? So now we're gonna add one more tweak here, yeah? Now look, let me take off all this yellow shit, because you barely can't even see this. All right, cool. Now there's a lot more difference. It's the exact same fit, but now we have a chain, we have rings, and we have a belt. So now there's a lot more personality to this, because, and this is the problem, a lot of you guys making clothing brands aren't fashionable yourselves. You don't know how to put a piece with a piece. You cannot dress good for the life of you. You just want to make clothes because it's cool to do. You just want to be that cool founder that's making a lot of money, scrolling on Shopify, and that's fine. You can do that. But because you're actually not giving a fuck about the important parts, that's why there are people making 6 figures a month, and I've seen it, 6 figures a month, and you are not. That's the gap between you two. It's because you don't want to spend an extra 10 to 15 minutes a day sitting down and watching and learning about psychology. That's why your competition is beating you. That's why my clients are beating you. That's why people who have better brands are beating you. Okay, that's why we're all winning, and you're fucking losing. And you're in your room right now, probably with your legs up in the sky. There's a big discrepancy between what you're capable of and what you think you're capable of. And with this psychological bias I'm showing you right here, the reason why this looks way different from this is because you've now added what we call complementary or supplementary things to an already existing format. What that means is you haven't reinvented the wheel. You've just changed the way you've turned it. And by the way, I'm not talking about direction. I'm just talking about maybe you use 4 fingers to turn the wheel instead of 5. You're not changing the wheel. You're not reinventing it. You just turn it differently. You turn it with more force. You turn it with little force. Either way, turning it with more force or little force still makes a difference. Like I said, the reason why, for example, your brain is like, damn, look at this. This looks different to this. It looks completely different. But let me show you the error that most people make. And most likely, if you're a clothing brand founder and you're about to make your next piece, you've already sent the sample out to your manufacturer. This is the mistake you're about to make. And this is why I'm telling you to fuck that shit off. Until you sit down and really think about your brand, fuck that shit off. Yeah, he's made the sample, but I promise you, in business, you're going to lose a lot more money. So if you're scared about losing 200 pounds, what do I tell you guys? We lose like 1,000 pounds, running ads and shit. That's just on ads. 5K on ads. Come on, bro. So in psychology, we call this compounding visual perception. In other words, minimal change over time, but changes that are complementary yet tiny and that add confidence over time. For example, right? You could be confident with just wearing a chain, right? For example, and let me give a point to illustrate this. You could wear a nice piece of clothing, but the one thing that makes you really confident is the chain. Is the chain you wear. Why? Because it's the association you make. For example, why do you think rappers wear APs with that, well, bust down AP? Why not just wear a simple watch? Because in their mind, there is a level of status that is associated with that watch. It's a bust down AP. Fox watch, by the way, that shit's ass. But, anyways, there's a level of status that's associated with the AP. That's why they could wear, they could wear a white top that's blank, tight ass jeans. I'm talking tight ass jeans that they're looking like Humpty Dumpty and they have bow leg and shit. But the AP just makes a big difference. Why though? Why is something so small such a big difference, right? It's what we call compounding visual perception. Little changes over time that make a big difference. For example, if you look at a painting isn't a splash of color. It's little strokes that if you look so closely, ever so slightly, you'll see all the different strokes that accumulated this big painting. So let me show you the error that you would make, right? If you see this, it's boom. So stage one, right? Stage one, nothing. Stage two, belt. Stage three, belt, chain, rings. The little is, and by the way, like these are tiny. In contrast to like the actual shirt, I'm not talking about a hoodie on top. I'm not talking about different pants. I'm talking about a little chain. Little things, right? So when you make clothes, aim for small critical change over time and not drastic, not like nonsensical moves, if that makes sense, if that's even a word. If, for example, your first drop is big, then the next piece you drop is something smaller that will complement what you already have. Let me give you an example. If you drop a oversized white tee, okay, and the next drop you're thinking, yeah, let me drop a tracksuit. It's like, bro, either you completely revolutionize the tracksuit and make it look way better, and I'm talking about you make a good tracksuit, or you do something smart. If, for example, your first drop was a white oversized t-shirt with blue, like opaque shorts, whatever, then the next thing you should drop is slides. And that might, you might sit there and think like, damn, like, obviously this varies from person to person. You could drop a chain next. You could do a collection where you drop chains with slides, with gloves, but don't drop another tracksuit. Don't just drop another tracksuit. Why? Because a lot of people are making tracksuits. Now you might sit here and argue, damn, like how can I market some slides? Well, clearly, if you can't sit down and understand how to market slides, then you clearly don't actually have a content strategy. You don't know actually how to market anything. You couldn't sell water in the desert, okay? Luckily for you, that's what we specialize in. Actually focusing on your target audience and repositioning you as a brand cult and then into a brand industry. But that's a different topic entirely. I'll show you what we do at the end. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is the problem you're doing is that you're making an easy product. You're making a very bad product. And then you're saying, oh yeah, it's generic, but I know it's going to sell. No. It's better for you to make a very good product that most people can't afford or can't even get, and then limit the reach and then target that specific people. For example, if I wanted to sell you a bottle of water, right? The best thing I can do if I want to make a lot of money with the business is by making this water that was previously like £1, £5. Why? And let me tell you why. If I charge this for £5, the value you associate with this water increases. If I said, here, take this. This is a £1 bottle. You're like, oh, that's £1. Yeah, let me drink it. If I said this is a £5 bottle, you'd be like, wait, why is it £5? Like, what's in it? Like, what's so interesting about this bottle? What's so interesting about the water inside that makes it £5? And then with the money that you give, I can continuously improve the bottle over time. So this blue packaging, clear, is just terrible. So instead, I'll change the bottle shape. So I'll make it look more luxurious. Maybe it'll look more like a glass bottle. And then I'll change the labeling. And then I'll change the branding. And then over time, with these little tweaks, what you'll see is the value inside this bottle. There's a reason why people are charging mentorship programs for like £10,000, right? Like, they charge it for such a high price because there is more value in it. For example, I could make a course that's £2,000 and give that to you, and you're like, oh yeah, this is decent information. And then you go to, like, let's say, for example, let's say Clint, the owner of Cortez, sold you a mentorship program of 10,000. You're gonna automatically associate that one with more value, even though me and him say the exact same thing. In your mind, you're gonna associate what he's saying with way more value than what I'm saying, just because of price. And you can apply that same psychology into your products. If you're making a generic product, you're a generic brand. But if you make a very different niche product, you are a brand cult. There's a discrepancy between the product you make and the product you make that everyone else has made, but just a little bit different, as opposed to a product that's targeting your niche. The old way with Virgil, a lot of people misunderstand what he said. He said the best way to do this is to get a product and change it by 3%. So what you think is, yeah, let me just make a hoodie and change it by 3%. That's a new logo, that's a new colorway, and that's a new stitch. It's terrible, right? And by the way, granted, that works to a certain extent. But the disadvantage with that is that number one, you need to be first and quick, and you need to be the person that did it first and right, or or you make the product after everyone's made it and it's just another generic brand. Don't get me wrong, there is hundreds, if not thousands of people that would love to buy a generic product. They exist, but this is for people who really, really want that brand coat, and these people that want to sell to the same people that would be happy to spend £300 to £400 on your site just because you just keep dropping bangers. That's the difference, right? So let me explain the mistake you make. The mistake you make, for example, is, let's say, for example, this is the first edition, right? The first drop is the top. Then you think, oh yeah, let me drop a hoodie. So you drop a hoodie, and most of your competitors, okay, no. Let's say you drop this, your competitor dropped the red hoodie. So you think, yeah, that's cool. I'm just gonna drop a blue hoodie. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, decrease like, the hinges and stuff, like the wristbands, add a logo there, and I'll keep everything the same. And granted, this works. But the reason why this is a mistake is because you keep dropping the same thing, just slightly different, rather than making something that completely pivots the brand. You see, a brand isn't just about tracksuits and, shorts. And granted, you can be a brand that just sells tracksuits and shorts. And if that's how you want to be, then that's a different story. But if you actually want to be a brand and be actually be able to expand and spread your roots, I'm not talking about making completely different products that no one has ever seen before, but make things that are complementary to the things you've already made. That's how you get a community. That's how you get people to buy anything you fucking make. If you can only sell tracksuits, you're only a tracksuit selling brand. You're not a clothing brand, you're just a tracksuit selling brand. Okay? So, this is what we define as a relevant change. Changing the thing without creating an opposite which can cause contrast. In psychology, your brain can't make a differentiation between a bunch of different colors and the same structure of clothes. For example, these red and blue hoodies, your brain really can't make that much of a difference. Yes, you can visually perceive that this is red and this is blue. But really and truly, when it comes down to product and quality and value, you're like, yeah, this is the same shit, but just a different color. Why would I buy this? Right? You don't see the value in it. And if you can't see the value in it, then imagine your customer, right? Now, there will be more colors you like more that you might resonate with more. Like you might, for example, might see a colorway in white and you'll be thinking, damn, yeah, I resonate with white. But what if you make a color that your customer doesn't like? And this is why I'm saying you're making a clothing brand, you're making clothes. When you go to a suit, you get a suit tailored to you. Why? Because it needs to fit you at the end of the day. You're going to wear it. A lot of you guys make clothes that just, this is clothes, man. I just made this. But without actually researching your target audience's interest, without researching the people in your niche's interest, what they would like, what they would be interested in. The quickest way to make money is to go to a place where everyone is looking for something. Why the hell are you trying to open a water shop inside the ocean? It just doesn't make sense. Go to a desert and open up a shop that sells water. It's a big difference, So, the result of, for example, you making the same shit over and over again and not improving and not getting with actually advancing your business is 0 sales over time. This is your Shopify dashboard. Either this is your Shopify dashboard 30 days after the drop, 14 days after the drop, and you can see the first day you might get like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sales, 6, 7, and then it will just peak down. And then 14 days later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you get 0. And then you come to me, and then I scale the fuck out of your brand, and we have calls, and then we make 6K a month with your business, then we make 12K a month with your business, then we make 100K a month each. It's crazy, right? But the whole point of it is, on Shopify, what you can see is a dead brand. And you probably feel like you wasted your money and time making this brand, huh? So that's why you're making another product and it'll be like the last shot. Yeah, I'm gonna make this other product. I'm gonna see if it works. I'm gonna try out other things. Like, I promise, you're getting gold. You're getting shiny object syndrome. You're looking at different things because the brand isn't working. It's very painful that you spend multiple 4 figures on this business, but you're not even getting a return on the investment. I understand. But you have to understand that it's not the market's fault. It's the fact that the market you've chosen doesn't need what you're selling. It doesn't need it. It doesn't. If it needed it, your clothes would sell off the shelves. Like, you could sell hot dogs, right? But if I'm selling hot dogs on my home street, it's not really that much. But if I make a hot dog stand and I sell it right outside a stadium, for example, Arsenal game was recently, if I sell it outside a stadium where I know people are going to buy hot dogs at the end or the start of the game, I will sell out, even if my product is ass. So sometimes you just need to make a different product within a niche and within a market that everyone's asking for it. Okay? So what's the solution to this? Honestly, a lot of people are going to say you need to build an 8-step system. You just need brand swag. You need to define your brand swag. You need to be able to define that makes your brand different. And that's the swag of the brand. Now, I would love to help with this, but it varies for every person. Every brand is different. I can't tell you what your brand swag is going to be. I do that for my clients because I look at their brand and I can just notice it. I read their, we research who their target audience is, their ICP, and then we tailor all the content, the advertisements, everything to the client's brand. But in your case, that might be different. You might be a freaking luxury brand, and I can't just generalize that to you because the people in your niche, the people in your luxury, kind of bubble might want shoes when you're selling gloves. So it varies from people to people. But the way you can define brand swag is how a person feels when they wear the clothes, how a person talks when they wear the clothes, how they, accessorize when they wear the clothes, anything that's a part of your brand. And one thing is your brand, right? When it comes to the swag, it doesn't need to be stereotypical. It doesn't need to be, cool. It doesn't actually need to be like cool, like the stereotypical Pinterest clothing brand. It doesn't need to be any of that. Your brand swag could be nerdy. That's probably your brand swag. Essentially, your brand swag is your own wave, your own type of movement, your staple piece, what your brand identity, what's actually about your brand, okay? Something that cannot be replicated and it can only be done by you. That I can't go to another brand and see the same shit you're doing from them, right? And if I did, they'd be copying you, right? So you need to be able to define your brand swag because right now you're making a product that's ass, it's terrible. And you're about to make another product that's ass and terrible. You're about to go on your iPad, get a mock-up of a hoodie, and then just do a cool logo on it. It's, So yeah, hopefully this made sense. If you're a business or if you're a clothing brand that's doing anywhere from, 4 figures to 5 figures a month, but you really, really want to take this to the next level, you should hop in a call and we should talk about your brand positioning right now. Because I know a lot of founders are not really happy and content with the rate of their brand, and we can severely close that gap as quickly as possible by building out the content system for you, by targeting your custom audience, by building up your personal brand as well, because personal brand is super important, by the way. Positioning your content, positioning your brand in the way that it needs to be positioned, because a lot of people swipe past the videos you send them, and the reason why they do that is because you haven't given them the psychological reason to come in there and buy, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyways, if you want to book a call, feel free to DM. You can click the link and then just talk to me. I would like to have a chat with you, see what your brand is doing right now, and I can show you what we do. Or you can DM me on Instagram and you can see the content we do. So take care. Hopefully this shows you how to actually make good clothes for your clothing brand, or in other words, make a good product. And yeah, see you later.